something shifted in them. Not the surface level, I should probably address this, shift that produces a pro forma acknowledgement designed to close a loop without actually engaging what created it. The specific interior, something has genuinely moved in me kind of shift that belongs to someone who has been sitting with what they did and what it meant and what the person they did it to deserved from them that they did not receive, and who has arrived at the specific uncomfortable but finally honest understanding of the gap between what they offered and what you were owed. The apology that is coming is not a peace offering. It is not a strategy. It is not the managed, calculated, what do I need to say to get back to something comfortable version of an apology that most people who are primarily thinking about their own comfort produce when a relationship has been disrupted. It is the real version, the one that has required something of the person giving it, that has cost them something in the specific quality of having to see clearly what they did and what it revealed about how they were operating in relation to you. And the conversation that follows it is going to be something entirely different from any conversation you and this person have had before. Because genuine apology, the real kind, the kind that has been arrived at through honest self-examination rather than through the desire to resolve discomfort, changes the terms of whatever comes after. It does not simply return things to how they were before. It produces a conversation that could not have happened before, one that can only happen in the specific quality of honesty that genuine acknowledgement opens. That conversation is approaching. Let me describe what I felt the moment this energy opened, because the initial impressions were layered in a way that tells the full picture of what this collective reading is actually about. I felt something I want to name carefully because I think it is the most important single impression. I felt the specific quality of someone having crossed a threshold in their own self-understanding, not the dramatic crossing of someone who has had a revelation, the quieter, more durable crossing of someone who has simply, finally stopped being able to tell themselves a particular story about what they did, the story that protected them from having to see the full weight of what they offered or failed to offer in relation to you. That story has collapsed under the pressure of honest examination. And the collapse of it has left them in the specific position of someone who can see clearly and who can no longer choose to not see. I also felt the specific quality of what becomes available in you when someone does the work of genuine acknowledgement, a quality of opening, not the naive opening of someone who has forgotten what happened, the specific, considered, I will allow this to land and see what it opens quality of someone who is bringing genuine discernment to the experience of being offered something real. Both of these are present in the energy. Their honesty arriving, your discernment receiving it. The first card in this reading arrived in the position representing the nature of the apology itself, what kind of thing is actually being offered, and from what place it is being generated. And I want to describe this card carefully because not all apologies are equal, and the specific quality of this one matters enormously. This card shows a figure seated in a posture of genuine consideration, the quality of someone who has been turning something over with full attention and without protective distance, with the specific quality of someone engaged in honest self-examination rather than defensive self-protection. The swords in this card speak to the mind and to truth, and the seated, attentive, genuinely engaged quality of the figure speaks to someone who is not running from what they are seeing, but is staying present with it long enough to actually understand it. What I am reading in this card about the nature of the apology is something I want to name specifically. This person has done the interior work, not as a preparation for the apology in the calculated, what do I need to have worked out before I approach her sense, but in the more genuine sense of someone who has been genuinely wrestling with what they did and what it revealed and what it cost you, and who has arrived through that wrestling at a quality of understanding that is real rather than convenient. I also want to speak to what the sword suit tells me about the specific nature of what has been understood. The swords govern truth in its most unadorned form. What this person has arrived at is not a softened or reframed version of what happened that makes it easier to live with. It is the honest version, the one that does not spare their own image at the expense of accuracy. The kind of self-examination that the sword suit tends to produce when it is operating at its best, which is genuinely penetrating rather than comfortable. The second card arrived in the position representing what specifically is going to be said, the actual content of the apology and the emotional conversation that follows it. And I want to describe this carefully because I think naming the content helps you receive it as what it actually is rather than as what you might brace for it to be. This card shows the imagery of something being given that is genuine and whole, a single cup offered with the quality of something complete rather than partial, with a dove descending in the imagery of something peaceful and sincere arriving in the space between two people. This is the card of genuine, undiluted, nothing being held back emotional offering, of something being given that is as real as the giver has the capacity to make it. What I am reading in this card about the specific content is something I want to say plainly. They are going to tell you that they were wrong, not in the technical, I acknowledge a misstep way of someone covering a procedural error, in the deeper, this is what I actually did, and I actually understand why it was wrong, way of someone who has genuinely reckoned with the specific impact of their specific choices in relation to you specifically. They are also going to tell you something that is harder to say than the apology itself. They are going to tell you what the situation actually is for them now, what they have been carrying since, what they actually feel, not the managed version. The dove in this card speaks to something being offered peacefully rather than defensively, which means the conversation that is coming has a quality of openness rather than the quality of someone trying to win something. Does this feel like it is landing on something real in your experience, Virgo? The sense of a specific person who has been doing work on themselves in relation to what happened between you, who is approaching the point of bringing that work into a direct conversation with you. Let me know in the comments. The third card arrived in the position representing what has produced the shift, what has genuinely moved in this person to bring them to the threshold of the sincere apology the reading is describing. Because I think understanding what produced the shift is part of receiving the apology fully. This card shows a great wheel at a point of genuine turning, the specific quality of something that has been set in motion by the logic of how things work rather than by any particular decision or event. This is the card of what happens naturally when enough time has passed and enough honest reflection has occurred for the true quality of a situation to become undeniable. The wheel turns, things arrive at their natural consequences, and one of the natural consequences of genuinely not doing right by someone you care about is that the not doing right eventually becomes impossible to maintain the comfortable story around. What I am reading in this card about what has produced the shift is something I want to name honestly. They have lived with what they did long enough that the version of events that protected them from feeling its full weight has worn out. The specific kind of self-protection that people maintain around their own failures eventually erodes under the pressure of time and of genuine reflection and of the ongoing, accumulating reality of what the failure cost. And when it erodes, what is left is the bare, honest, unprotected understanding of what actually happened and what it actually meant. That erosion has completed in this person. The wheel has turned them to the place where honesty is no longer something they are choosing to maintain or choosing to avoid. It is simply what is left after the other options have exhausted themselves. I want to speak to something the wheel card reveals about the specific quality of the shift that has occurred, because I think the distinction matters for how you hold what is coming. There is a specific difference between someone who has decided to apologize because they miss you or because they want something from you, and someone who has been turned by the wheel's logic to the place of genuine acknowledgement, regardless of what the acknowledgement might produce for them. The first kind is contingent. It depends on what they want and on whether the apology seems likely to deliver it. The second kind is not contingent. It has arrived through the natural working of time and honest reflection, and it does not require a particular response from you to be genuine. What is coming belongs to the second category. This person would be in this place of genuine acknowledgement whether or not they thought it would produce a specific outcome with you. The wheel has turned them here. The apology is the expression of where the wheel has brought them. Inhale with me, Virgo, because the fourth card carries what I think is the most important thing for you to know about how to receive what is coming. This card shows a figure at a high point in blazing, full, unobstructed light, the quality of someone who has arrived at a position of genuine clarity and genuine strength, who is inhabiting the fullness of their own capability and their own knowledge without the obscuring quality of something unresolved still clouding the view. This is the card of someone who can see clearly and who is operating from that clarity rather than from the murkiness of something still being processed. And this card in this position is describing you. What I am sensing in this card about how you are positioned to receive what is coming is something I want to name clearly. You have clarity, the specific, honest, genuinely processed quality of clarity that is only available after you have done your own work on what happened and what it meant and what you needed that you did not receive. You have done that work. And the clarity it has produced is the specific asset you are bringing to this conversation that is the thing that is going to allow it to produce something genuinely new rather than simply revisiting the same territory the original rupture created. You are not walking into this conversation from the position of someone who is still processing what happened. You are walking into it from the position of someone who has processed it fully and who is bringing that full processing to what the other person is now ready to bring to the same table. That meeting of two fully processed, genuinely honest people in the same conversation about the same real thing is what is going to produce the quality of emotional conversation. The title of this reading promises. I want to address something specific about the Virgo experience of receiving a genuine apology, because I think naming it helps you navigate the moment rather than being caught in the specific tension it tends to produce in your particular sign. You do not typically want to receive apologies quickly. Your nature tends toward needing to verify the genuineness of what is being offered before you allow it to land fully. You have a specific finely calibrated sense of the difference between a real apology and a managed one. And you are right to maintain that calibration because it is based on genuine perceptual accuracy rather than on cynicism. Your ability to sense when something is being said for convenience rather than from genuine understanding is one of your most reliable qualities. What I want to offer alongside that calibration is this: the apology that is coming is going to pass the test. Not because you should simply decide to let it pass, but because the quality of what has been genuinely worked through in this person, the real interior, honest kind of reckoning described by the cards, is going to be perceptible to exactly the kind of perception you bring. You are going to be able to feel the difference between this and what would not be real. And what you are going to feel is that this is real. Allow yourself to receive that with the fullness it deserves, not immediately, on the timeline that your own sense of the genuineness of what you are receiving produces, but with the openness to actually receiving it rather than simply assessing it indefinitely. The fifth card arrived in the position of what the emotional conversation is opening into, what the sincere apology and the genuine acknowledgement and the real honest quality of the conversation that follows all of this is actually building toward. And I want to describe it with the specificity and the warmth it carries. This card shows a scene of genuine, mutual, inhabited warmth between two people. The quality of something that has been rebuilt after something difficult, not returned to what it was before, but arrived at something that is actually better than what it was before because it has been built on a foundation of honesty that the prior version did not have. The cups that are present in this card carry the water element's quality of genuine feeling. And both figures are present in a way that suggests not one person receiving and one person offering, but two people who are genuinely in the same experience together. What I am sensing in this card about what the conversation opens into is something I want to say directly, something genuinely good. Not necessarily the same thing that existed before, not a return to prior configuration that pretends what happened did not shape anything. Something new, something that is possible specifically because of what has been honestly acknowledged and honestly received. The specific quality of emotional connection that is only available after two people have been fully honest with each other about something difficult and have found that the honesty was survivable and even ultimately the thing that allowed something better to become possible. I also want to speak to the timing quality of this card because I think it matters for how you hold the period you are currently in. What this card is pointing toward is not immediate. The conversation is going to open something. What that something grows into is going to take the time that genuine things take. You are not being asked to arrive at the destination of this card before the conversation has even happened. You are being shown the direction. The destination is real and it is accessible. The path to it runs through the conversation that is approaching. I want to speak to something about the cup suit and what it specifically suggests about the quality of what is being built in the fifth position. The cups govern genuine feeling and genuine interior connection, the quality of relationship that operates at the level of real emotional presence rather than at the level of social arrangement. What is being built toward is not a surface reconstruction of something that previously existed. It is the specific, deeply felt, interior level connection that is the potential of what is between you when everything that was obscuring it has been honestly addressed. The emotional conversation that the sincere apology opens is the specific tool by which what was obscured gets addressed. And the cards are showing me that the addressing, when it happens fully and honestly, produces something in this fifth position card that is considerably more genuine and considerably more sustaining than what either of you has had access to before this conversation clears the way. Before I close, I want to say something about sincere apology and what it actually does in the space between two people, because I think the word sincere in the title of this reading is doing specific and important work that deserves explicit acknowledgement. A sincere apology is not primarily about the past, it is primarily about the future, specifically about what becomes possible in the future that was not possible while the rupture was unacknowledged. The unacknowledged rupture creates a specific kind of obstacle between two people, an obstacle that is invisible from the right angle, but that shapes everything that moves in the space between them. Nothing fully arrives because the obstacle deflects it slightly. Nothing fully lands because the ground between you has something unresolved in it that affects the landing. The sincere apology removes the obstacle. What becomes possible afterward is the full quality of contact that was not available while it stood. Not because the apology erases what happened, because it acknowledges what happened honestly enough that both people can now be in the same relationship to the truth of it, can stand on the same side of it rather than on opposite sides of it, can face forward from the same place. That is what is coming. The obstacle is about to be removed, and what is waiting on the other side of its removal is the quality of genuine, honest, fully present connection that has been the potential of what is between you all along. If this reading arrived with the quality of something specific and real, rather than general and applicable, if there is a particular person and a particular rupture and a particular quality of something unresolved between you that this reading is pointing toward, please share it with a Virgo who might be in the same waiting and who needs to hear that what is approaching is genuine. And leave a comment. I want to hear what this reading opened for you and who it brought to mind. I read every single comment and I hold what is shared in this space with genuine care long after this video ends. Until next time, Virgo, something shifted in them, and the shift produced an honesty that is about to arrive in the space between you. Receive it with the full quality of your discernment, and then receive it with the full quality of your openness. Both are yours, and both are exactly what this moment is going to ask you to bring. And that is no small thing.